Hello everybody and welcome to my first ever attempt at a dual com with my good friend Tom. Say hi.
Hello.
And rather than talking about a gameplay, the gameplay that's going to be going on in the background will be a video that I've got in my stock which fits the time of this conversation. But basically we're going to have a bit of an open chat about what we want and what we expect from the Modern Warfare 3 Killstreaks. So everyone's seen the Modern Warfare 3 videos from E3, seen the hype and heard the hype, but obviously there was no information really about what the Killstreaks will be. So, with that in mind, from the current pool of kill streaks, Tom, what are your favourite top 5 kill streaks? What are the ones that you always want to see in a game? You always love to activate.
Well, there's kind of two different sets. There's the type that I use a lot, and then there's a type that I just think are awesome, but I'm just never good enough to get there. I think for me, UAV is an important one. I think in any multiplayer game, it's always good to have some kind of radar, and obviously Black Ops followed on from there with the Blackbird, which was awesome. Not something I ran per se, but it was something that I definitely look forward to if someone else was running it. I prefer to have slightly lower kill streaks, but definitely some kind of radar system is always a welcome change. So you're not just kind of running around trying to find someone. You're just given that slight window of opportunity to pull a few kills back if you're having a bad session or something.
Yeah, I absolutely love Blackbird. Blackbird is my new #1 favourite kill streak because of just the brutal effectiveness of it. Once you've got one, like you said, you can just see whatever's going on, wherever the enemy is, even if they're using the ghost perks, etc. They've got no chance of hiding. It makes camping obviously completely pointless because there's nowhere you can hide from a Blackbird. So offensive kill streaks then. If we force your hand to talk about offensive kill streaks, what are your favourites to use? And like you said, what is your favourites to see active?
I love the kind of in terms of air support. I like the Harriers for me in Modern Warfare 2 were just devastating. I thought they were very achievable by a lot of players and just huge amount of damage. I think I kind of prefer that low end kind of kill streak, offensive kill streak. Leading on from that, as we said, like the radar style. So we got the airstrikes. I'm not a huge fan of the Predator. Is it the Predator missile? I'm trying to think
kill
of
streak, yeah.
Yeah, that's but probably because that's just my effectiveness at it. Because a lot of people obviously can be really effective. Pulling off quite a few kills there, leading on to just getting a few extra bonus points. I usually only get 1 or 2 kills from that. But I don't know.
Well, a lot
I always
of people
find
said that the Harrier in Modern Warfare 2 was a bit overpowered because it had the airstrike and it had the Harrier. So it's a bit. I think, yeah. Now that I've seen the kill streaks from Black Ops, I would have said the Harrier was probably could have been put as a higher kill streak because of the damage that it could do. But then again, it might have only been seen as overpowered because it was so attainable. Because you could get the 5 kill streak, you could get 2 kills with the Predator and get a Harrier. It was that easy.
Yeah, but I mean, the counter argument to that was I found the Harriers. You could have a couple of games where you launch 2 or 3 Harriers if you're on a bit of a tear, and every single one of them could get taken down instantly. It's a pretty easy kill streak to. Granted, the first airstrike you don't have any, you can't really stop that. But as soon as the Harriers come in, you can take those out pretty instantly if you're on the ball.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
It is attainable by a lot of people, and when if a team isn't on the ball and they just let it run riot, then yeah, it can really destroy. But it doesn't take, it just takes one person to just come in, with Ghost and RPG, whatever, and just to take it down, and it's gone, sorted, finished.
Yep, it is very true. That's the main balance issue, and that's the way you counteract kill streak is that you make it destructible basically. But the counter argument to that is if you've worked hard to get, for example, in Black Ops 9 or 11 kills, if someone can shoot it down within 1 life with their dual Strela, does that not kind of make kill streaks redundant? Because you can't keep them in the air. If, like me for example, I actively will go after kill streaks to prevent them doing damage and killing me, and therefore it just kind of irritates everyone and makes them pointless.
Yeah, I think the problem is the balancing is always going to be an issue. You've got to be careful how easy it is to take something down and how hard it is to attain. Obviously, the higher it is, the higher level of kill streaks are going to have obviously much harder to attain, which in theory you'd think that they need to be much harder to take down. But you are right. If you've spent so long, and for a couple of players, it could be absolutely arduous. It could be like the most amazing thing for them to ever get up to 8 or 9 kills. And yeah, if someone can take down their kill streak in almost instantly, it's going to feel absolutely awful. But you've got to balance the game somewhere. It's going to be it's a tricky thing to do. And there's a fine line between getting it right and getting it wrong. If you suddenly had something that was in the air after 8 or 9 kills, and it was almost unstoppable, or it was very, very difficult. Well, it's like the argument with the AC-130. Seemingly tricky to take down, but a well-coordinated attack from 2 players could take that down incredibly easily.
Yeah, that's very true. There is that aspect. It's if you're playing as a team, obviously, which a lot of these games are based around. The idea is you play as a team, then you will have members of the team who will take down air support, and therefore they will keep your team alive, and therefore it values the other team players that are using the UAVs and the Blackbirds and sort of non-lethal kill streaks, because you can't take down like a Rolling Thunder. It just comes across the map and kills whoever it kills. So the players that aren't using the main or the most powerful kill streaks will gain the benefit in those sort of environments, because you're not able to shoot anything down because there's nothing in the air. It's just airstrike and then it goes away, and it's just Rolling Thunder and then it goes away, or it's the unstoppable Blackbird that just you get the kills with your gun rather than with the air support.
I mean, I like that kind of kill streak, the Blackbird, because that, even though it gives you a huge advantage, the other team still has the ability to completely stop that. I mean, granted, you'll have the advantage that you'll be able to see that player, but that player could still react faster than you, could still still shoot you first, in different circumstances. That is I think it's quite a balanced kill streak, in that the other enemy, the enemy team isn't totally in the it's not totally against them. It's just an upper hand to the other team. But so and like you said, people still die with Blackbird, and it's your own fault. You can everyone makes mistakes. People spawn in, and granted, even if though you didn't see it on the Blackbird was there. People can still kill the enemy team that have a Blackbird, and it's not there for a huge amount of time anyway. So I think it's quite a that one's quite a balanced, quite effective kill streak in my opinion.
Okay, so moving away from balanced kill streaks, which from all the games, obviously, which do you think is the most overpowered kill streak that currently exists?
I think it can be dependent on spawn patterns and the kind of layout of the map, but I think the chopper gunner, from my experience, is one that if you were in a position where you got bad spawning and the game decided to put you in wide open spaces, it was very difficult to get out of that for from someone who's particularly effective on that chopper gunner. It was just you can be trapped so many times, and it's just an absolute nightmare to get out of.
And you're referring to the chopper gunner, obviously, in the Modern Warfare 2 era, the one that that gives you the red square and just basically lines them up and lets you just take them down over and over and over again. Yeah, I agree. I think that did need a lot of balancing, and they did try by reducing the damage, etc. But it wasn't necessarily the damage that was the problem. It was the fact that it would sit next to a spawn and just point at it and let you just open up and keep spawning them in. The game didn't react well to the realization that the person had killed the whole team 3 times in a row, and therefore needs to switch the spawn. It would just, like you said, just keep them popping in and popping in and popping in.
But maybe that's a limitation of the size of the maps, though. Maybe if you had a bigger map, if you're talking more Battlefield style maps, would you notice it less? Because obviously there's a bigger area for players to spawn in. There's more of a space for that helicopter to move around. Less chance something could happen.
There's obviously there's a huge number of issues when you've got maps, because you try and say obviously Battlefield is a completely different game in the way it plays. So in Homefront, it's because the maps are larger, whereas 6-on-6 in the Modern Warfare and Black Ops style, the Call of Duty style, is quite small, is kind of fast paced, so it needs the smaller maps. Because if you play games, if you remember back to playing games on like Derail, those games would often time out rather than get to the kill limit, because it was just too slow to try and get all the way and slug all the way around the map and find enemy. So you are limited, I guess, with the spawn system based around the weapons. But then you've got to try and work out if a chopper gunner on for like Scrapyard, for example, can pick up 30 kills, and then on Derail, the same chopper gunner will pick up 5 kills. Surely you've got to question the map design rather than the kill streaks on the spawn system, because it shouldn't be that varied. You should be able to bring a chopper gunner into any map and get about 10 kills, rather than it varies because of the map.
Unless you go down the crisis route, which we've seen lately, where kill streaks, you have a certain kill streaks that are dependent on the map. Going into that map, you are given those kill streaks, and it is dependent on whether it's a fairly open map or it's a closed map. So obviously on the closed maps, the smaller closed maps, you're not going to have air support because there's not the opportunity, but you still get the opportunity to play in a smaller arena. But you just have, you're just given a slightly different kill streak. In that case is the nanosuit versus the kind of the gunship, the Ceph airstrike. I quite like that way of thinking, where your kill streaks are kind of reliant on the kind of geometry of the map and the size that you've got to play in, and it's whether they could translate something like that over, and whether it would actually even work with COD players, because they're so used to having the opportunity to choose whatever kill streaks they want. It's might not be something that could ever translate over.
No, I can see. I agree with the way in which it would work, but it doesn't function really well now that you've introduced the customizable kill streaks since Modern Warfare 2. If they take that out of the game, I think they would get a lot of negative sort of reaction from the community, because there is that situation where, like yourself, you prefer using the lower kill streaks because you can feel like you can get more of them in a game, whereas I prefer to run the higher kill streaks because I like getting a 50 kill streak and looking good on the KD at the end of the game, and because I've played that way, because of the way I can get them. And obviously when you balance the two of our playstyles out into a game, we match up quite well, because your lower kill streaks will aid me getting my higher kill streaks, and my higher kill streaks will aid us capturing objectives, capturing flags, just getting kills, etc. If you take that away and you say everyone has to use 1, 2, 3, or 3, 5, 7, or 5, 8, 9, or whatever, then you're going to annoy a lot of people that can only get 2 or 3 kills and like having UAVs. And so I don't think it would really pass across into this community. I think it would get rejected and cause a lot of negativity.
Oh yeah, it's just an interesting change on the kind of kill streak kind of implementation into these games. The idea, as you said there, what you can also get across maps is diversity in players. Obviously, I'm a different player to you, and so our team is going to be he's going to play differently. Are they relying upon that to occur kind of in most matches, that players are going to be different? Or you can't ever police that. There's no way that you will get a team you're going to have one person low, then some mid range, and then some high range, so they're all kind of helping each other. It's you're going to get matches where you just get a whole load of high end players, or a whole series of low end players, and it's there's no way you can control that. But maybe they're just assuming that would try and occur. Well, that would occur within the matchmaking process.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's the end of our time limit here, so we'll call that the end of part 1, and we'll pick this up in part 2.